Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Potted Plant Entertainment. My name is Chris, and in case you don't know, I review movies and I rank them on a scale of 0 to 100 in increments of 5. Today, we are back with our Michael Bay series with Transformers. I remember when Transformers came out. I missed a lot of big movies when I was a kid because a lot of them were rated PG-13, and my parents were firm believers that unless I was 13, I could not watch it. So I missed this. I missed Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I missed Spider-Man 3. I missed Avatar. I missed a lot of stuff. But I remember when this came out, and all my friends were talking about it, and I wanted to see it so bad, but I did not get to see it. I didn't see it until much later. I think I ended up watching parts of it on TV, and then it wasn't even until maybe a couple years ago when I finally sat down and watched it from beginning to end. And I thought it was all right. I have warmed up to it a little bit more. I do like this movie. I do think it's pretty good. Not perfect, far from it, but I do think it's a good movie. So let's talk about Transformers. It came out in 2007, and it stars Shia LaBeouf, Megan Fox, Josh Duhamel, Tyrese Gibson, Rachel Taylor, Anthony Anderson, John Voight, John Turturro, and Peter Cullen. And it was directed by Michael Bay. And this movie tells the story of a teenager who buys a car that ends up being a Transformer, and the Transformers are here to race against the Decepticons to get this cube that created their species, and to stop the Decepticons. The Autobots want to stop the Decepticons from getting a hold of it, so that they can turn random stuff into Decepticons and build an army and take over the universe. That is the plot of Transformers. Now, if that didn't interest you at all, this movie is probably not going to interest you at all. But if that sounds cool to you, this movie's for you. Because this movie is definitely for me. Look, let me get him here. I own all the Transformers movies. So I got the first one back there, and I got all. I even have the Last Night on Steelbook. Yeah, it's a nice steelbook. This is the only steelbook I own, other than this plastic one for Natural Born Killers. But anyway, so I get a sense of I get a certain amount of enjoyment out of the Transformers movies. The first one is really the only one where I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty good movie. The rest of these, I think, are fine. I don't hate any of the Transformers movies just because I find them so darn enjoyable. The action sequences are just so much fun to watch. Yeah, they got a lot of plot holes and terrible humor, but overall, they are very enjoyable to watch. It's just binge watching them is a little hard because they can take quite a bit out of you to watch them because they're so over bloated. But there is a sense of enjoyment you get out of them, especially this one. This one doesn't go quite as far as the other ones. It kind of reels it back in a little bit, and it's nicer because of that. So let's talk about my pros. So for one thing, the special effects are revolutionary. Before we had Avatar, we had Transformers. And Transformers has some of the best CGI work in the history of cinema. These Transformers are absolutely amazing. And it's not just the Transformers, the practical effects, the practical explosions. It all works really well. The Transformers blend into their environment so well because what they would do is they would actually do something practically, and then they would CGI the Transformers into it later. They would actually blow something up that the Transformers might have hit, and then they would just CGI in the Transformer hitting it later. You know, most filmmakers wouldn't really do that, but Michael Bay went that extra mile, and that's one of the things I like about him, is that even when he does do CGI work, he does as much practical effects as he possibly can. But we got to talk about the CGI. Like I said, it is some of the best CGI in the history of cinema. It was revolutionary. The amount of detail that went into these things is extraordinary. Each Transformer had 1,000 moving parts, and they had to animate every single one of those little parts. It's just amazing. They even CGI'd the lighting on them. They would look at the lighting of their shots, and they would do some kind of amazing work to make it look like that lighting was on them, so that they weren't just lighted all the time. Like, they blended into the environment because the lighting looked natural on them. The detail that went in this is just incredible. And they always look like they're actually there. They blend into the environment so well. And the actors do such a good job interacting with them, especially Shia LaBeouf. He's not talking to anything. Every shot you see the Transformers, there's nothing really there. Every time Shia LaBeouf is talking to Optimus Prime, he's just looking at nothing. But he does such a good job at making us believe that they are there and he is talking to them. It's so much fun. This is a really, really fun movie. If you've never seen Transformers before, go watch it and just have fun. It is a lot of fun. Don't overthink it. It's not exactly like one of those turn your brain off type movies. I wouldn't say it's a turn your brain off movie. I think it has more value than that, but don't take it too seriously. You can't look at Transformers like, well, compared to the Shawshank Redemption, Transformers doesn't really live up to my expectations. You can't go into it like that. This doesn't exactly live up to The Godfather. You can't look at Transformers like that. Transformers is Transformers. They are ship-shaping robots that turn themselves into vehicles. It's not the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's not Inception. It's not The Godfather. It's not 12 Angry Men. It's Transformers. So just have fun with it, because this movie is a ton of fun. I promise you will have fun watching Transformers. The action is really, really good. I love it when the Transformers are battling. And when the whole military thing, which Michael Bay added in because he wanted, he thought the first draft of the script was too kiddie, so he had it rewritten, and he asked them to put in this whole military thing to add more of an adult value to it. And even the military really helps add to this action. They don't feel like it doesn't feel like it's unnecessary. I like that the military is there. I like how the Transformers move. They move gracefully, but you can also feel their weight, which is their physical weight, which is good. The voice actors are really, really good, especially Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime. He's the only voice actor from the TV show to come back and do this film. And he just knocks it out of the park. I just want Optimus Prime to talk me to sleep every night, because his voice is just absolutely incredible. It's comforting, but demanding at the same time. It's absolutely amazing. Peter Cullen owns this character. I also really like Hugo Weaving as Megatron. He didn't come back for Transformers 4 and 5. They actually got the original voice actor to do that, who is also the same guy who voices Scooby-Doo. Little fun fact for you. Shia LaBeouf is funny. He has good comedic timing, and I think he was perfectly casted in this movie. Steven Spielberg, who was an executive producer on this, not only did he recommend Michael Bay to direct this film, but he also recommended Shia LaBeouf to Michael Bay to star in this film, and he's perfectly casted. He's really, really good in the movie. Transformers is probably how Spielberg got him to be in Indiana Jones 4. He probably saw his work in that and was like, hey, I want him to do. So that's probably why. But he's really good in the movie, and he has good comedic timing. Most of the jokes in this movie actually do work. Not all of them, but most of them are actually pretty good. The opening scene is a great introduction to the Decepticons when the helicopter comes flying over American airspace, and they tell it to land, and they're not getting any communication from it, and then suddenly transforms, and it just goes off on the United States military. I mean, it's really effective, and it's terrifying. I love how this movie actually shows you how the Transformers would fit into our world. It is realistic as to what a Transformer would be like on Earth. I think it portrays that very well. The music is fantastic. I love the soundtrack to Transformers. If you never listened to the soundtrack to Transformers, it's one of my favorite movie soundtracks. Definitely check it out. It is really, really good, and it adds so much to this film. And I love how it ends with a cool Optimus Prime speech. Every Transformers movie has to end with a really cool Optimus Prime speech. And even though this isn't the best finishing Optimus Prime speech of the series, it is a good one. Alright, so let's get into my cons here. And every complaint I have with this movie is probably something you've already heard about this movie before. I really don't have anything new to say about Transformers, really, that hasn't already been said. But I still wanted to talk about this movie because I do like this film. For one thing, the camera is too close sometimes during the action. And I think the reason for that is because Michael Bay didn't exactly plan well for the... Not always. Most of the time he did, but he didn't always plan well for how big the Transformers would be in a shot. And so it left the animators sort of having to cram them in some instead of getting a much wider take so that they had more room to work with. Also, the color filter and the lighting, it's just, it doesn't really work. Like, the movie is too saturated, and there's even like this one scene, and I noticed this the first time I actually sat down to watch this movie from beginning to end, and it's bugged me ever since. It's when Shia LaBeouf picks up Megan Fox in his car in Bumblebee, and the entire background around them is nothing but white. Like, you couldn't show what's outside passing by them. It's just nothing but white. That's always really bugged me. I hate that so much. And there's way too many side characters. There's way too many characters in this movie. It doesn't need to be that many characters. John Voight doesn't need to be here. John Turturro doesn't need to be here. Rachel Taylor doesn't need to be here. Anthony Anderson doesn't need to be here. John Voight could be in this movie, but he needs a lot less screen time. All you really need is the Transformers, Shia LaBeouf, Megan Fox, and maybe you can also have Josh Duhamel and Tyrese Gibbs, and I like them in the movie, so they don't bother me, but most of these side characters, you just really don't need them. Yeah. But that's Transformers for you. It's a pretty good movie, not amazing, not perfect, but it was very, for the most part, well received when it came out. It was very successful at the box office. Not as successful as some of its predecessors, but it's a pretty good movie, and I'm going to give Transformers an 80. Alright, I will be back very soon with more reviews and more Michael Bay reviews. So, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to Pod Planet Entertainment for more. Hit the like button. Leave me reviews, suggestions, and comments down below. Follow me on Instagram at Pod Planet Entertainment for channel updates and TikTok. And much love. Autobots, roll out! Oh, my foot.